Hey guys, I'm Aubrey.
I'm Kaylee.
And this year we are going on a huge trip. We have been wanting to do something like this for a really long time, and it's finally happening, so we are so excited. So I had been wanting to teach English in China for probably 2 years. About 6 months before I graduated high school, I kind of went through the process to be able to go with the company over to China and teach English to elementary school and kindergarten age children. But it was going to cost me about $5,000, maybe more, to be able to do that, and you were only able to be there for a semester. And so that seems like sort of a waste of money. A lot of people told me that I could make money doing the same thing with no qualifications, and so I kind of tossed around a few other ideas and then decided that I wanted to try to earn some money doing that same thing. So my uncle actually goes to China quite frequently, and I talked to him about it and talked to some other connections that I had and started to get the ball rolling, and I decided that I wanted someone to go with me. And I had asked a couple people before, and everyone was just kind of like no thanks. And so one day I didn't even expect her to say yes or anything. I just asked Kaylee. I called her up, or we were talking already or something, and I just brought it up and said, hey, would you want to come to China? And
well, yeah, sure, let's do it.
And I was like totally taken aback because I didn't think that she would actually want to. So we've known each other since we were like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. We went to the first years of elementary school together, and we were like best friends. And then both of our families moved away, but we still managed to see each other like every year, every other year, because our families were such good friends. And her family had extended family that lived where we lived, so they were there in the summertime sometimes, and we were able to see them. So it was really cool that we were going to be able to connect, and we were going to school together as well for a little bit, and so we've been really excited. And as we've kind of gone back and forth trying to figure out where we're going and what we're doing, we kind of started to rule China out of the picture just because we had been kind of misled, and it turns out we weren't actually getting the right information, and we didn't have the qualifications that we needed to be able to go. It turns out if you go to China, technically you need to have a bachelor's degree, and a lot of people get deals where they don't have those qualifications, and it's kind of illegal to get your visa that way, and we just didn't really want to be arrested in China all that badly. So we decided against China just because it was starting to take a long time, and we didn't think we'd be able to get our visa in time, and we wanted to leave in January of this year. And so we decided, you know what, let's not even teach English, let's not do a program, let's just kind of go do sort of a backpacking thing in Europe. And we found out about something called Workaway. It's where you live with the host family, so you have really low expenses. If you work for them for about 20 hours a week, they have to pay for your food and housing. So we're like, okay, sweet, we'll do that. We'll get to see a lot of Europe, and we were really excited for that. But then we realized that our winter is at the same time as Europe's winter, so we didn't want to spend all this money to go to Europe and it be rainy and cold the whole time. And her dad actually served a mission for our church in Fiji.
I've always wanted to go to Fiji, and we kind of tossed around a couple of different ideas of where to go, and I don't know, we were kind of originally go to Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji, just because those countries would be really cool. And then we tossed Europe out of the picture, and we decided that Thailand would be cool to stop into because it's cheaper to fly there first anyway. So then that's kind of how our plan evolved.
Yeah, so now we're going to Thailand, New Zealand, and Fiji. We dropped out Australia just because it's such a large country and it's really expensive. And with us, we're trying to travel on a budget, and we have about 3 to 4 months that we're trying to get as many countries in as possible. So we flew into Thailand, and then we're flying into New Zealand. It's just cheaper that way instead of flying straight to New Zealand, and we get to see another country. And being in Asia is really inexpensive. And if you're trying to travel on a budget, I think that Asia is a really awesome place to go. You get to see a lot. There's rainforests, jungles, beaches, anything you could possibly want. And again, it's really inexpensive. So if you fly into Thailand or somewhere, you can take buses and kind of places all around to see a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, and that's what a lot of backpackers do. And also, it's really cheap to stay in hostels. The hostels in Bangkok that we're staying at are about $4 a night, and that's what we found is about the most expensive. We found some in Chiang Mai, which is a northern city in Thailand that we'll be in, and those hostels are only $2 a night. So it's really budget friendly, and you get to see a lot and experience a lot. We also wanted to do some of the islands because Kaylee's always had an interest in Fiji, and I've always had an interest in New Zealand. Some vloggers that I watch that are my favorite vloggers live in New Zealand, and I just think there's a lot of culture and a lot of things to see, national parks, again, beaches and things like that. And plus, in New Zealand and Fiji, it'll be summertime. We're really excited to be in the sun. We're going to be in New Zealand for about 2 months, and we'll be staying with 3 different host families. So I think also living with a host family, as well as being cheap, I think it's also really nice to experience the culture because you're kind of with more local people. You can kind of get more of a local experience instead of a tourist experience, which a lot of people are trying to steer away from, just to feel more of the reality of the country. And I think it just helps you have more of a global mindset. So after New Zealand, then we're off to Fiji, and we'll be there for 2 weeks, same as Thailand.
I'll be staying with a lady that my dad knew, and he was there on his mission, and get to stay with their family, which will be really cool.
Yeah, so that's really awesome to know that we'll have her to stay with, and she's a really sweet lady, and we'll be able to kind of show us around, and we'll be there for a little bit. And then we're on our way home, and we have hopefully a job set up in the Grand Canyon for the summer. We just wanted to make it known that you can travel on a budget. Our flight to Thailand is $300 overall with 4 flights, Thailand to New Zealand to Fiji to back home. We're spending about $1,500 each, but we could have done it so much better. We just kind of didn't plan as well. And so if we had done our flights a bit earlier and kind of kept up on that and watched the prices a little bit more, I think we would have been able to save at least $300. So if we could get that around to $1,000 to $1,200 on flights, and if you just watch for deals, Expedia sometimes has some really good packages actually, where you can get, your hotel and your plane and everything booked together in one. And if you don't care where you go, then that's a really nice thing to do. If you have a few weeks or even a few days and you just want to get away, you can get a package like that for a really inexpensive price. A lot of people think that traveling is really complicated because you need all these visas and different travel documents, things like that. So really, from what we found, you don't need a visa unless you're going to be there for over 90 days.
In a lot of countries.
In a lot of countries, yeah.
Australia, we would have needed a visa, but the other ones we don't.
Yeah, so, and the nice thing about living in the U.S. is that we have agreements with a lot of countries like New Zealand. You pretty much don't need anything unless you're going to, live there. Mm-hmm. They're really lenient on people from the U.S. And the nice thing about New Zealand is their government really enjoys having tourists and people from other countries. They really want that, and they make it really easy for people, especially young people, to go and study there, work there, live there, or just visit. They make their visa processes really easy and really fast. So that's a really nice thing to know if you're thinking about going there. And a good place to find out, if you're thinking about some other countries, is just to go to their main website. Usually their government will have a website for their country, and you can find everything you need to know on travel documents and whatever is required to enter into that country. We were kind of worried about vaccines. I'm actually not vaccinated, immunized, so I was kind of worried that I would need to get some shots before I went, and I really didn't want to do that. And so it turns out that that's really not a problem. I would imagine that it'd be a little bit harder if I was going to live in a different country, but just because we're visiting, you don't even need any papers like that. So that was really comforting to know that I wasn't going to have to worry about that. And you actually need a lot less than you'd think. We're making sure we have our passport, birth certificate, social security card, driver's license, everything like that with us, and then a bunch of copies of them just in case we're going through customs and they need that, then we can just give it to them. We don't have to worry about that. And we're just keeping that in like a documents folder in our backpack. So it's really good to make sure you have some extra cash and all your documents with you, so that if you're ever in a place where you get stuck. I had a friend who got arrested in Singapore for absolutely no good reason. Like, you just never know if there's a mix-up or something and you get stuck somewhere. It's really good just to have your identification documents, because you don't want to have to worry about that when you're in another country. Our parents are also having us do power of attorney paperwork, and I don't even know.
Living will.
And our living will, so that if we get sick or there's just decisions that need to be made about us or our bank accounts or any sort of financial thing, then our parents can deal with that as well and have the rights over us, basically, to make those decisions for us.
Like, my dad is actually going to file my taxes while I'm gone in my name, because he has my power of attorney, so which is nice. I don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of little things that you wouldn't even think about when going to another country, like power adapters. Every country or every area of the world has a different outlet, like just regular old outlet socket is different. So you can get, like at REI or online somewhere, you can get those adapters. They're really inexpensive. You can get like a whole kit of them for the whole entire world for like $7 or something. It's really inexpensive. So there's those little things that you want to know that you don't want to get over there and not have. So because it's summer, it's really nice to travel in warm weather because you can pack a lot lighter. And so I am just bringing a pack that I got at REI. When you go to get a pack, they fit you for it. So you go in, you kind of look at them, pick out some ones you like, and there's usually someone that works there in the store that can help you out and say, okay, this is what people really actually like, this is what doesn't rip, this is what's most comfortable over long periods of time. And then you kind of try some on, and then once you find a couple that you've narrowed it down to, you ask them to put weight in them, and you walk around the store for 20 minutes or something in each pack, just so you can get a real feel of what it's like. And because sometimes you'll be like, oh, this pack is really awesome, I really like it, or it looks really cool, and you put it on, put some weight in it, and then you absolutely hate it, and you end up picking something that you would never have picked. So it's really good to do that beforehand and kind of get those things in advance, because we've been kind of trying to do things like sort of last minute, and while it's been totally fine, I mean, it's been in advance enough, I think we wished we would have
planned ahead, not procrastinated as much.
But it's all good, and it's nice to know that, especially in like New Zealand, if there's something we need, we can just buy it. So, I mean, if you have the essentials, you're never going to be in a place where you're like, oh my gosh, I really need something. I'm just taking a backpack. Kaylee's taking a backpack and a carry-on. We're going to try to narrow down her things. If you do have to take 2 separate pieces of luggage, when we're in Thailand, we're gonna be going on like a 3-day trek, and from what we've learned, we can just leave our like extra stuff at the hostel, and they have like a locked room. Make sure you have locks for all of your luggage. I have 2. One's like a little cable that you can like loop through all the zippers and connect it, and then another one is just like a regular lock that we're gonna put on, and I can use that for the lockers at the hostel or whatever. It's just good for obvious security reasons. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed those little tips that we have. We worked really hard on this trip, and we're so excited to be able to go. Remember to subscribe to this channel, because we are going to be posting videos as often as we have Wi-Fi connection. You can stay tuned on our journey, and yeah, remember to subscribe. We love you guys. Bye!